This bee balm is literally crawling with bees. Wow.
I just thought, a pink onion, why not try it?
Our hostas do well in Minnesota. They like our temperatures.
We have things blooming from early spring to late fall.
It's fun to imagine what this place will be like in a few years. We've just gotten started.
Hello everyone and welcome to Great Gardening. I'm your host, Sharon Young, and as usual we have our experts here with us, and they are horticulturist and educator Bob Olen and garden professional Deb Byrns Erickson. We want to hear from gardeners across our region who have questions for our experts. We have phone volunteers here tonight from the St. Louis County Master Gardeners taking your phone questions this evening. Call locally at 218-788-2844 or simply email us at ask@pbsnorth.org. We're taking questions throughout the show, so call or email us now while we begin tonight's show with a look at the weather in our region.
There it is, beautiful lake walk scene, but we're seeing a little hint of green. That's the color. There we go.
Green. There's more green.
That's what we've been waiting for. And you want to be a little careful, lawn care. I think we'll do a segment on that, but you never want to get any fertility on until you've got some a green plant there that can pick up the fertility.
Crocus.
Crocuses, beautiful, jumping out, spring flowering bulbs. Scylla, very, very nice. One of the first to emerge.
So pretty. More crocus?
I believe so.
Looks like it. Nice grass around it. Tulips.
Tulips are, of course, a little bit later. Yeah, they're going to mature a little bit later.
Just in time for the deer to eat them.
That's right. That's a favorite. More crocus.
Pretty.
Very nice. But those are signs of spring we've been waiting for. Some nice shots.
Well, we're finally seeing some green out there. And while we're admiring some beautiful blooms, we're going to take a look back at a classic garden tour with Connie and Lee McGinness from Proctor, Minnesota. Let's watch.
I am Connie McGinness, and this is my husband, Lee McGinness, and we are in Proctor, Minnesota.
We purchased the place from my mom and dad about 16 years ago, but since then, we've done quite a bit of landscaping.
When we bought the home 16 years ago from family, my father-in-law and my brother-in-law had dug out the area and lined it and filled with water. And this gazebo at that time was up near the house. And we put the gazebo there as a backdrop and then just expanded, just bumped out from the water's edge to create space to have flowers and things. They are goldfish, except for there's a calico looking one right there. And the grandchildren love them, and so it's a joy. I've got a wheelbarrow that becomes a planter. Anything that I can drill a hole in the bottom can become a planter. This is just hundreds of blooms. This clematis, it just loves that spot. When COVID hit, we'd been talking about, we knew we couldn't just dig up our soil, it's just so awful. And backbreaking. I ran across Mel Bartholomew, his teaching on PBS, and our local library had the book. We learned about square foot gardening, and he told us anything could be grown in 6 inches of soil, and he teaches you how. He taught us that you don't want to make your raised beds more than 4 feet wide because you can only reach in 2 feet on either side, otherwise you have wasted space. And COVID came and my husband had some time off during then, and so we just built it, and so we call this our COVID garden. This is our 3rd growing season. When I'm planting in my vegetable garden, I also like flowers, and these are all zinnias. Lee he took a little section of the cattle panel and he built you can see just a grid right across here, and we added it to the frame. Yeah, the wind doesn't blow the flowers, and they don't need the staking as they continue to grow high.
Here's the interesting thing about gardening. You know, you build a fence, you build a box, put a place for something to grow, plant the seeds or the plant, then you just kind of let God grow it, and it grows. It's a wonderful thing. It's a great blessing to our lives.
What an absolutely beautiful garden they have. Now, Bob, what did you want to share with our viewers this week?
Well, I thought we'd take a look at some of the new and kind of intriguing introductions, vegetable introductions this year. And it's kind of surprised me because I believe among the gardening public there's a new awareness and emphasis on better nutrition because the breeders tend to kind of follow what the trends are, and the introductions that are really featured tend to be more nutritious this year. So really quite surprised, but several of the All-American winners are in the cabbage family: cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, kale, kohlrabi, and now we've got a new one. It's not new, it's about 10 years old, but it's just really getting some attention, called kale. It's a combination between Brussels sprouts and kale. So I think there's an awareness that that all of this particular family contains sulforaphane, which is a sulfur compound that's noted to be cancer protective. It was Dr. Paul Tellerley. He just passed away a short time ago, and I would like to recognize what he did. In 1998, he just kicked things off and really began. He worked with Johns Hopkins University, and he just started this new field of chemo prevention, and there's been an awful lot of research that's followed. So we're seeing a lot of color. When we take a look at the cauliflower family, it's pretty interesting. We've got purple, orange, and green that's being featured. We're seeing different forms. We're now seeing what I call stick cauliflower, the Fioretto varieties. And one of the All-American winners happens to be a purple Musaki Fioretto stick cauliflower. So here's some of the colorful cauliflower that we never saw 10 years ago. Very intriguing stories. Graffitis, the purple one down on the right. There's a lot of newer introductions that have followed that on. If one thing's successful, there's going to be many more copycats out there. I still think that's the best. Cheddar's in between. Just got a great story. It was a mutation, an orange mutation that was found by a Canadian, what the equivalent of a county agent working with the Extension Service in Canada. And that was found in 1970. The original seed from the original mutation was shipped to British Columbia. They couldn't do much with it. Went back to England. They couldn't do much with it. And it finally came back to a cauliflower breeder. His name was Dixon at Cornell, which is a great horticultural school in upstate New York. He spent 8 years. It was finally introduced, I believe, in about 2004 or 5. And it really didn't get in the hands of growers until about 2010. But cheddar, aptly named, is really very interesting, colorful and loaded with vitamin A. And then we've got Vita Verde, the green variety. So we're getting all kinds of color. It always used to be white. It's just a little bit boring. Here's the new forms. These are the stick cauliflower. This is that Murasaki I talked about. I thought initially they were introduced just because they might be a little easier to harvest, but really the stems have their own unique flavor. And they're gaining in popularity. We're going to try a lot of these coming up this year. And then this is the new Kalette, which I mentioned, which is a cross between a Brussels sprouts and kale. You get these kale-like leafy structures right where the Brussels sprout bud would form. And that Kalette is very versatile. It can be eaten raw, it can be steamed, it can be microwaved, it can be transformed into a chip. So it has a lot of very unique flavors. We've got the stick broccoli as well. The interesting thing, it's just not the form, but here those stalks have their own unique kind of a nutty flavor. So broccolini, or what I call stick broccoli. New kohlrabi, I never would have guessed that you would have had an All-American winner as a kohlrabi, but this is one this year called Constance that did receive a national award. So there's a great deal of interest right now in new colorful varieties and very nutritious varieties, focused a little bit on the cabbage family, which we can grow so well in northern Minnesota and northern Wisconsin, so it's all good.
Oh, I love it. Thanks, Bob. I mean, come on, who doesn't love a good kale, right? And Brussels sprouts. Now, for those of you at home, keep emailing and calling in your questions. We're going to get to a couple right now. Julie in Duluth reached out and wants to know how to successfully repot this Norfolk pine. It's beautiful. It looks like I have 3 or 4 plants. I'd like to put them in separate pots. What type of soil should I use?
Well, my opinion is I'd give her a 50-50 chance. I've seen it go wrong so many times that you might lose You might lose both of them if you divide it even in half. I would never divide it more than in half. I'd try to find 2 strong ones possibly once you dig into that dirt and see what's down there. But there's a great possibility she could lose it all, and she really, I mean, it's thriving.
Right.
It doesn't look like it needs transplanting at all. I mean, if she wanted to go to a bigger pot, fine, but I wouldn't touch it.
Yeah, I think it's a pine, and that's really woody material. It doesn't divide like a lot of the vegetative materials, so I would be skeptical as well if she's going to be successful.
Leave
Throw
it
out,
be.
leave
Yes,
let it be,
looks
or
good.
a little bit larger container if she wants to. And they can get certainly even indoors 8 to 10 feet in height, so it's got a ways
Amazing.
to go.
Beautiful. Frankie in Duluth wants to know if you can suggest a good grape variety for northern Minnesota, and do you need 2 for pollination?
Oh, sure.
Nice. There's some nice. I like Valiant and Beta and
Bluebird.
Bluebell.
Bluebell.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's very interesting. They all have some of our native river grape in them. And let's see if I got this right. We get these questions. I think that Bluebell came from South Dakota. Valiant was an introduction from
University.
University of Minnesota. And then
Beta?
Beta was Minnesota,
Oh.
and I believe Valiant was Wisconsin. So all 3 states are represented, their breeding programs, any of those, but I think of the 3, Valiant is very aggressive and probably the hardiest, and that would be my first choice.
Yep.
Well, I have a perfect follow-up question from Fred in Two Harbors. He wants to know how to treat black rot on Valiant grapes.
Oh.
There you go, Bob. What are you going to treat it with?
You know, yeah, we really, he can try some of the more traditional fungicides. Once you see the disease, you really can't do much about it. We're not really a grape growing region. There probably are some specialized fungicides that some of the wine producing areas would have, but he could try a Bordeaux mixture, which has a copper base, or a sulfur mixture, some of the real general purpose fungicides. But they have to go on right when that fruit's just beginning to form. As once you see the disease itself or the expression of it, it's too late. The horse is out of the barn. It's got to go on as a protectant.
Okay, thank you. Ted in Superior bought some grass seed last fall that he kept in an unheated garage all winter. Is the seed still good? And if so, when should he plant it?
Okay, I just have one question on the seed. What grass seed was it? Because it just depends on where you got it. And of course, it would be fine if it was left and it had gotten cold, and it would be absolutely fine. But I want to know if it's got bluegrass in it, or if it's got rye, annual grass in it, and as far as if it's going to be hardy for us.
Right. We'll assume it's hardy.
Okay.
But you're right, you should read the label on it. But I would think it's probably going to be fine. Those cold temperatures won't damage the seed, not for 1 year. And he really wants to wait a little bit longer. Soils are very cool yet. And we want that seed to germinate quickly. So I'd give it maybe 2 weeks from now, he could start carefully planting.
And it takes almost 21 days to germinate grass seed. So
Yeah,
be patient once he gets it in.
And you have to keep that seedbed moist.
Yes, you do.
because,
Or mulch it and have that nice, blanket. Put a seed blanket on it.
particularly the bluegrass take a lot of time to germinate.
And it won't hurt to try.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
I
It's
think
got
you can be
nothing to lose.
successful.
It's going to be fine, yeah.
All right, well, thank you all for the questions so far. Next, we're taking a look at the local dirt. Look at this beautiful greenhouse from Don and Nancy Larson.
Nice. That clear roof, you can just do so much with it.
Good that
Oh, another angle. I like the tools on the wall. Just
Yeah, it's
handy
very
right there for
inviting.
you. Oh, and the hollyhocks.
They don't even look real. They're
I
so
know
beautiful.
that color, that
yes.
color.
That's the thing, with the long days and the bright sun, we can get colors that are spectacular. It's wonderful. Some of our flowering crabs.
It's in
many of the
Ironwood,
traditional
Michigan.
varieties, yeah.
Nice.
And many of these are, they're very,
Hardy as
very
can be.
hardy.
Oh, magnolia. Nice
Just a
magnolia.
gorgeous
Probably
flower.
our star
Star
magnolia,
magnolia, yeah.
which is real hardy for folks. I would start with that one.
Nice hydrangea.
So many nice hydrangeas coming.
So
That
many
might-
to choose from. Probably Annabelle there is my guess.
Could be.
Big one.
Except it's got kind of a lime color to it. a little
I'm
bit.
just not mature. Oh, and the hellebores. Hellebores are great if you can grow them. They're great. They're a little tender and they don't always work out for everybody, but they're great if you can.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing what you've got growing this season. And we've got a lot more gardening to talk about. Deb, what have you got in store for us this week?
Well, everybody's getting kind of antsy to do some planting, and they're going to the garden centers, they're going to the greenhouses, and they just want to get a fix. It's just flowers are everywhere. Are not everywhere, but when you go to a greenhouse, they're everywhere, and you can't help it. You're tempted by it. So then I just came up with a few little tricks if you want to bring home a few things and make it a little easier for the next couple weeks before you have to start hardening them off and transitioning them. But a wagon for the weekend. So you can just use a little wagon like that, and you can put your plants on it, and then you can pull them outside, but don't forget to bring them back in. You can set an alarm on your phone so that if it's getting a little windy, or just watch the weather and watch your phone for how long they've been out. And then you can water it when the foliage gets darker, because if the foliage is darker, a lot of times it's drying out, and the wind outside will dry it out quicker. And then you don't have to water it as much if their plants are getting heavy. And then give them room to breathe and grow on that wagon. And then another one would be a sauna all week long. So this was a customer told me that she does this, and it's, to me, genius, because I do now use my sauna to propagate sometimes when I want to do begonia seeds or other hard to grow seeds. But it's easy to water. You can put a small heater in there. I like to set mine to 55 degrees for just getting things used to going outside. And then oscillating fan and light set on a timer, and they really only need about 12 hours of daylight or of a light. And then plenty of room. There's plenty of room in a sauna to do that. And lay some plastic or garbage bags on the benches to keep your benches nice and not get them all dirty. And then have another task to do. And some people just put it in their bathtub. It's really easy. And if you have a secured curtain rod, you can hang up baskets on it. If you have a pull-out shower, you can just water easily with just that shower head. And then you can use a laundry basket flipped upside down and then put some plants on it, and then it makes it easy coming in and out if you still need to use your bathtub or your sauna. And then a garage setup. Lots and lots of people do a garage setup for ones that really get they're addicted to plants and they want a lot of them, and they have specific ones they want. So you can set up shelves or carts. And then remember, the floor is the coldest. That concrete holds the cold for a long, long time. So you want to get everything up as high as you can. The higher it is, the warmer it is. And again, you can use rods on top of your shelving and put your baskets on it. And then you add a heater. Again, set it to 55, 60 degrees. Fans, oscillating fans work great. And again, lights. And then for those that are completely out of control, our greenhouse and like those other gardens, you really need a greenhouse to get all that stuff going. But that is a full-time job. You need to watch your greenhouse all the time. I even had customers today that came in and said, "Oh, it's getting hot. I got to get home. I didn't crack the windows on my greenhouse," and off they got to go. So it's great. You just make sure you get the cold out of the ground before you add any plants, because that again, will heat up quickly, especially, the dirt, just warm it up, keep it closed. And then once you put your plants in, make sure you have vents and fans going. Even if it's easier if it's a hot day or a sunny day, just to make sure your vents and fans are going. And then you can also add more plastic inside over that shelving to make a greenhouse in a greenhouse for more tender or tropical plants. So there's ways to get around and get to getting big plants that you can't live without.
Or you could leave them at the greenhouse a little longer. I like your ideas, though, but perhaps we should remind people it's not a good advisable idea to sauna with your plants.
Right. Do not. Right? Bob is absolutely right.
I've heard of showering your plants with your plants, but not sauna.
No, he's right.
Those are great tips. I mean, it is exciting. This is an exciting time with all the beautiful blooms, and thank you for your tips. So remember, there's still time for you to call or email your questions. Let's get to a couple more. Susan in Carlton wants to know how far down and when do you prune grapevines? Lots of questions on grapes.
Yeah, and I'm assuming she's talking about our wild or native grapes. They can be pruned heavy and hard, even almost down to the ground, and they'll come back for you. But look for where there's still viable green tissue and prune them back. They'll take a heavy prune very early. Right now would be a good time to do it.
Perfect. Diane in Pike Lake wants to know when is the best time to plant asparagus seeds.
Seeds. Okay, she's not going to direct seed this, is she? Is this?
Well, she said seeds.
Yeah, I know. I wouldn't direct seed it, though, because we've had questions about direct seeding, and this is one I would not do as a direct seed. I would start them in my sauna. Turns out
the seeds, she's going to be planting crowns. Now these have been, a commercial crown producer runs the seed out, and it's over a 2-3 year process. So most of us, you're going to start with the crowns.
Okay.
And as soon as you can get them into the ground, I think is a good idea. Again, soils are very cool right now, but you'll start with a crown, which is several years old, and that gives you a jump, and then they're pretty easy to start. But starting asparagus from seed is a real challenge.
It's a long one, yeah. You would need a sauna to get it started, keep it warm.
And one of the
They're
real
slow.
nice things, we lost a group of asparagus, the Jersey series that came out of Rutgers, because I think the commercial producers maybe retired, and we thought they were gone, but they're back.
I've seen it back, yeah.
Yeah,
We have
Jersey
some.
Night,
Yep.
Jersey Supreme, Millennium, so there's some
Giant Jersey.
Jersey Giant,
or Jersey
which is a
Giants,
real
yep.
thick stem. But I think you want to plant asparagus. There's nothing as good as a fresh crop of newly emerging asparagus. Takes a few years, but very, very fine.
Yep, keep the
Great,
weeds down.
great.
That's your number one challenge.
Karen in Duluth wants to know what are the best veggies to grow in pots that are not tomato or lettuce?
What about peppers?
Yeah, that'd be
Absolutely
next.
peppers. Peppers
Black-
are one of the best ones in a container.
Okay, what if they
Black-
don't like peppers?
Oh, then just about anything else.
Yes.
You
Yeah,
know,
as long as
just
you
about
watch your
anything will grow
water
in a
and-
container, except for maybe corn, which is not going to give you a whole lot.
But celery you could do.
But you mentioned a dark, anything that really loves the heat, a black pot on an asphalt drive, like your peppers, as an
Peppers,
example. They'll
love it.
mature very, very nicely for you.
Wonderful. Sherry in Piedmont wants to know how to get rid of invasive moss growing in the garden.
Ooh, growing in the garden.
Growing in the garden.
Yeah, it's a little, the big thing, people want to get rid of moss, but moss is there for a reason. Moss
It's telling
doesn't
you
have-
that
Yeah.
it doesn't have much sun. Isn't that what it's
Right.
telling us in
It's
the
telling
garden?
you there's too much water because
Yeah.
Water.
Yeah.
moss does not have a vascular system. It does not have roots. So what it's going to do, it has to absorb all its water right through the tissue. So it says it's very, very moist. So I would say I would do raised beds. I'd try to get some drainage in there, maybe open it up, cut down a tree or two, or trim them at least so you get some more sunlight. Dry that bed down or that garden down. That's going to be the solution. Forget about all of the potential moss killers that we see sold out there. That's not going to solve the problem. You really need to get rid of some of the water and warm
Change the
things up a bit.
environment.
Change the environment.
Devetta in Duluth wants to know if collards can grow in Duluth.
Of course.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, good. There's no reason why we couldn't
No,
grow them.
no
It's
reason
just
at
they're
all.
not part of our kind of native
Diet
diet that we're
usually,
used to.
yeah,
Yeah,
no.
a lot of people will grow collards though, and they're easy to grow.
Very easy.
All right. Devetta also wants to know if rabbits have, she has rose bushes that rabbits have chewed up, about 15 inches up. Will they come back or do they need to be replaced?
Ooh, if they're all the way around, if they're girdled, it sounds like they've been girdled, or I don't know if they've been cut down, but I'm guessing they've been girdled all the way around. If they're girdled all the way around, depending if they're on their own root, there's a lot of roses, hardier roses are on their own root, and she could cut them back and see what comes back from them. But there are a lot of hardy roses, just depending on the rose variety. It could come back from the roots.
You may want to cut it back, look where the injury is, cut it back to a viable bud, a swelling bud right now. And they'll come back.
Doris in Renshaw would like to plant hydrangeas, bleeding hearts, and rhododendrons. Which varieties are best for the area? This is Renshaw.
Well, there's so
many of them.
hydrangeas. Rhododendrons, there's not as many rhododendron. PJM rhododendron, that's the only one that I really know.
Yeah.
I mean the Finnish ones, but they're not as readily available.
And they're finicky.
They're very finicky. So, and what was the other hydrangeas?
Bleeding hearts.
Oh, bleeding hearts. They sent her the old-fashioned, easy, and see if the spot is right for it. That's something she might want to do, is maybe start some of the less expensive varieties and see if your location that you've picked is going to be a good one for it.
We might have to do something. There's so many varieties of hydrangea, and they're so well adapted. And one of our big wholesalers, Bailey's, has been so successful with their Endless
breeding.
Summer series, and she has many, many to pick from there.
Great. One last question. Julie in Duluth wants to know if jalapeno peppers deter deer from eating cucumber plants.
Oh boy.
We've never heard of that.
No, me neither. They might deter your neighbor, but I don't think deer. I think that jalapenos grow pretty well in the area, but I don't think they're going to stop the deer.
No, I don't think so either.
All right. Well, thank you for all your questions. Next, we'll be thank you for joining us this evening on Great Gardening. We hope you enjoyed tonight's episode, and I'd like to thank our volunteers who answered the phones tonight. And of course, a special thank you to our gardening experts, Deb Byrns Erickson and Bob Olen, for sharing their time and expertise. We'll see you next time with even more tips to help you grow a beautiful and successful garden this year. Have a wonderful evening and good night. Oh, Bob. No.
I do have. I'm supposed to meet a guy to make a payment for a advertising on KQ.
Oh.
He's coming, so I'm just gonna. 1 second. I think
Okay.
he's probably here.
Okay.
Here at 7:30. So. It's 7:27. I got 3 minutes.
Yeah, you do. I know, 3 minutes is a long time. When you're talking about TV, it goes really fast. I can't believe how fast the show goes.
It goes fast, which is good.
Sorry, Nick, that end there. Okay. I mean, I was looking, and I'm like,
There's the end of the show.
yeah, and I was like, it's not scrolling,
And
and
this
I'm
show
like,
was a little bit weird because we only had the one video tour.
Yeah. we
Yeah,
have
usually
the
do
two,
twice.
Or split it up one way or
Yeah.
the other. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
and apparently, because we're in this weird transition with the producer situation.
Yes.
And
There's
we
like
had
less-
some videos
there's
from
less,
last
like,
year,
yeah.
and so
Yeah.
we dug this one up from, I think, 2-3 years ago, a couple
good,
years
though.
ago. It was a good piece,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
so
yeah.
because of that, we did have a second one to follow up. So it was
yeah.
a little bit more Q&A,
Sure, sure,
but
sure.
that's kind of what happened there. So
that's all right.
But it's good on the Q&A, so I didn't know we stretched out. We talked a little bit
Yeah,
more
it was
than we
actually,
should have,
the
yeah.
question, they want to hear their answers.
for sure.
Yeah.
So what we'll do, if we want to handpick, he was thinking 4 or 5
Okay.
individual questions. When Deb gets back, we can handpick those and kind of identify how we want to
Sure.
do that. Because
Sure.
like I said, we'll need to
Do
be
you want
about-
us together, or do you want us
So it can be together if you
like
want to kind of
interact like we did with a couple of those?
Sure. The biggest thing is we just need the whole piece to be about a minute or so. We can't get too lengthy.
Oh.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing. So that's why we want to kind of
Okay.
figure them out and figure out how we're going to answer each question so
Sure.
that we have a plan.
How about the last 4? Is there a tomato plant that matures faster than 50 or 60 days?
50 days is, was about the earliest that you could have found.
So which plant is that?
Well, the one 50-day that comes to mind is Early Girl.
Okay.
That's down there. We've also got a couple of cherry tomatoes that are very early, but the only slicer that I'm really aware of is Early Girl.
Okay. What can I do to limit the number of slugs
Oh,
in my garden?
yeah, that's
that
a
a
big
long one?
question. That could be a long one.
Okay, I won't ask that one.
Well, it's a good one.
Okay.
People want to know. So we'll see whatever else you got
Okay.
there.
What's the best way to aerate a very large lawn?
There's only one way. That's a plug aerator, what we
Okay.
call a plug aerator. We can answer that one.
Quickly.
Yes.
Okay.
It's only one way to do it.
Darlene says she has a lot of horse tail in her flower beds.
Yeah.
How does she get rid of it?
Yeah. That's